What's going on, good people? It's your guy James Mack, back with another video, of course. And I just want to give you an update right now. We're gonna be uploading videos once a week this year in 2024. But right now, I want to talk about a serious subject, and that's the 3 things I wish I would have knew before I moved to Miami. You see, it's certain things you need to know before you move to the sun, baby, until you get that sun on your body. But if you don't know these 3 things, you may be in for a shock. So let's get right to the video without any further ado. All right, guys, getting right to the video. I moved from the cold to go to the sun over 2 years ago. And there's 3 things I wish I would have knew before I moved to Miami. Now let me explain. Number 1, let's start with number 1. The number 1 thing I wish I would have knew before I moved to Miami is how to speak Spanish. Hear me out. If you're not fluent in Spanish, or if you don't know some Spanish dialects, some words, you're going to be behind the curve when it comes to looking for apartments, when it comes to dating, when it comes to ordering food. You hear me? When it comes to doing a lot of essential things in Miami, you're gonna be in trouble because you're gonna run into people that speak no English. And they may be from El Salvador, they may be from Colombia, they may be from Venezuela, they may be from Mexico, may be from Brazil. It's all different places, Portugal. If you don't speak some type of Spanish, it's going to be difficult. I've ran into situations where, like I said in a prior video, I went to the restaurant and, maybe 1 or 2 people in the whole restaurant knew how to speak Spanish, right? Because in Miami, the culture is Spanish people or people of the South American descent, they look out for each other. So if you don't know how to speak Spanish, you still can work here. We're still going to give you a job. We're just going to, when you have somebody else that doesn't know how to speak Spanish, then we're going to find somebody to help you out to get the order taken or to show them the apartment or whatever the case may be. But there is a community, and I'm going to talk more about that later when I talk about, segregation, but that's a whole different story. Stay tuned for that. So guys, this is very important for the guys. If you want to date women in Miami, guys, you're going to have to know how to speak some Spanish. What I've learned is women don't have a problem with dating black or brown men in Miami. And I'm speaking of Spanish women. Spanish women really don't have a problem with dating black or brown men. The issue comes in when you don't know how to speak Spanish, right? Because they may choose you, they may like you, they may get up on you and like your cologne and smell your cologne and get attracted to your smell. They may like what you look like. They may see your beard or something and like think you're handsome or you got the machismo. But once they ask you a question, hola papi, ¿cómo está? And you don't know what to say, that's gonna kill the whole mood, man. I'm telling you, it's over. And that happened to me several times. I didn't know how to say "cómo está," and certain things like that. And I'm still struggling with my Spanish, but I'm learning through apps like Duolingo and things like that, and Babbel. I'm on my Spanish so quickly. I'm running to the Spanish, because I love the bonicuas, mujeres. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know what I mean? But this, you're gonna have to know how to speak some Spanish. And for my black women out there, for my African Americans, for my black Americans, ladies or white women, whatever culture you is, if you don't speak Spanish and you get respectively, you get a guy that's from a Spanish speaking country that may, want to take a look at you, and he may ask you a question, hola, ¿cómo está? And you don't know how to speak no Spanish, you just missed out on your blessing. You can be in an interracial relationship if that's what you want, but if you don't know how to speak Spanish, it's a wrap for you. And that's the real deal. So guys, my number 1 tip would be learn how to speak some Spanish before you move to Miami. Let's go. The number 2 thing that I wish I would have knew before I moved to Miami, beautiful place. I love it. Lots of opportunity. I speak on that in my other videos, watch those videos. But I didn't know that Miami was segregated. Right. And that sounds like a term that you would hear, from the 60s or something like that. That sounds like a term you would hear from the 60s or something like that. But that's a real term. Segregation means that one community of people is in a certain area of the city, and they're kind of like stuck, or they're together. You don't mean they're stuck, but they stick together in that area. And that means that other communities or other people from different races is not in that community. So when I say segregation, take for example Miami, you have areas specifically set out for Russian people, right? Aventura, that's like Little Russia, right? You have areas that specifically set out for, let's just say, Cuban people. So if you go to, South Miami, if you go to Coconut Grove and those parts, you're going to see a lot of Cuban people. You know what I mean? And it's going to be predominantly Cuban people, right? But it's going to be other people mixed in there. But, that's, kind of like their area, right? You can go out to Doral. It's going to be Spanish people of some descent. You can go in the downtown area of, let's just say, Miami, and it's going to be a certain demographic there. Now, you can go to places like Overtown, right? And it's predominantly black, right? So you don't see a lot of Spanish people in Overtown because it's a predominantly black area, right? You can go to Miami Gardens, right? Miami Gardens it's a little bit of a mixture. It's Spanish people and black people, but still the majority is African American, right? So when you start to go to other places like, let's just say, Miami Beach, right? Miami Beach is predominantly Jewish people, right? You have some Spanish people, you have some black people, but for the majority of the people that's going to be living, especially in North Miami Beach and things like that, that's going to be Jewish people, right? So your neighbors, if you move to Miami Beach, and you especially North Miami Beach, you're gonna have neighbors that are Jewish, right? So you have places like Brickell, right, where it's just a hodgepodge, or it's just a collection of all different type of people, right? You're gonna meet Russian people, African people, black people, white people. Like, it's just everybody in Brickell, right? And that's the beauty of Brickell and downtown. But when you go in these different places, I'm telling you right now, and I'm speaking to African Americans, and because, different races probably don't have these problems that we have or these issues. But if you're black, you may go to for black men, you may have an issue, especially if you don't speak Spanish, right? Or if you're not, don't have any type of Russian dialect or something like that, it's gonna be tough, guys. So I want you to understand that before you move to Miami. Like, Miami is segregated, man. And when you get into these different areas, if you don't want to live in the hood, much respect to Overtown. Things are coming up. But when we see in the black community, and I'm speaking very candidly from what I see with my own eyes, what we see gentrification. It's being gentrified. So those black areas, yes, black people is coming up, right? But it's coming up from the hands of different cultures. So they're moving in, right, into the historically black areas, making it nice. And black people is moving out. So they're moving way, way out, to the gardens, or even past there. You might be all the way up in, Broward County somewhere, which Broward County is nice, don't get me wrong. And let me speak on Broward County from what I realized from my Miramar experience, from my, different experience in these areas, that's predominantly Caribbean, right? So when you get into the Miramars, when you get into Fort Lauderdale, places like this, and way out, you start to realize that people are from the islands, right? It's not real. These are not traditional Black Americans. These are people from Barbados, Jamaica, all these different, Puerto Rico, so now that's a different conglomerate of people. A lot of people don't want to live all the way out there, but it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm even looking out there because it's a little bit more affordable and things like that. So guys, that would be my number 2 tip, is to know that before you move to Miami, that Miami is a segregated city, right? So choose wisely where you want to be. You got places like Midtown that's not really, it's once again, that's a mix of everybody, but then it's going to be a little bit more on the expensive side. But once again, it's a mix of everybody. So that'll be kind of like your best bet is downtown, Midtown, or Brickell, and potentially Miami Beach. But like I told you, in all respects to the Jewish community, it's a lot of Jewish people in Miami, so they may not necessarily cater or feel you because, like I said, it's a lot of Jewish people. Let's go. The third thing on my list that I wish I would have knew before I moved to Miami is the fact that Miami is extremely materialistic. All right, hold up. Let me explain. When you move to Miami, just being an average individual takes some real dexterity. It takes some real gut to be just like an average individual that doesn't fall into any of the material things, right? You must have a good job, or you may be from another country, not really used to even dealing with a lot of that materialistic stuff. You're just coming to America for the first time, or you may be from a city where they don't really care about, material things, right? But when you get to Miami, and let's just say you try to come up, right? You're trying to be a image. You're trying to be a character, right? You're gonna need those things. And even if you don't, seeing those things is going to trigger something in your brain, if you're that type of person, to want to, I don't know how you can move to Miami and see the yachts and see the Rolls Royces and the Ferraris and see the big lips and see the beautiful teeth and see the beautiful bodies and the nice penthouse, apartments, and not want some of that. Like, I just don't understand that, right? Because me personally, that's the driving factor on why I do the things and want the things, because I like that anyway, right? So I've always liked fast cars. I've always liked Ferraris, Bentleys. I've always liked penthouse. I always liked the water and everything. So I had one comment on one of my videos where a guy said it's all an illusion. Well, I can't speak for him, but it's not an illusion for me. An illusion is something you cannot touch, you cannot feel. I see people standing on yachts with helicopters landing on them. I see people, doing the most, right? And if that's an illusion, then me personally, I'm not trying to be in a dull city, living a regular life, doing regular things. I'm an exotic person, and that's why I chose to move to Miami. So if you're that type of person, you're going to fit right in, because Miami is extremely materialistic, and you could be down to earth. Don't get me wrong. But if you want a certain type of looking woman, guys, you're going to have to be a certain type of looking guy. You feel me? Like, so if you don't have no nice car, if you don't got the nice apartment, if you don't got the, a nice bank account, a healthy bank account, then, you may want to look for a different place, because Miami is all about what you have, right? And that's not a bad thing, because a lot of times it pushes you to the next level, right, of this materialism. If you don't care about that, then you could stay in the country, or you could stay in Iowa, or you could stay in Salt Lake City, or you could stay wherever you want. Come and visit, get a taste of it. But if you want to live here, I'm telling you right now, it's about materialism. When you pull up in that Ferrari and you jump out, or you pull up in that Bentley, you understand me, and you have that G on, man, people are gonna be excited to see you. People are gonna want to, embrace you, right? But if you don't have that and you pull up, then they're gonna tell you get to the back of the line. You understand? They're gonna tell you may get treated a little differently if you don't have that jewelry on, if you don't have that, that drip on, or like the young people, that drip or that clothing, and you're trying to talk to the women downtown Miami, Brickell, and they don't see that money. They don't see those thigh pads in your pockets. They don't see those mumps in your pockets, or you got that big credit card. Guys, I just don't see how you're gonna fit in. I love seeing it. So for me, Miami is one of the best places in the world. I'll go around the world. We're headed to Singapore next month. We're gonna shoot some content there. Another one of the best places in the world. So guys, that's the three things that I wish I would have knew before I moved to Miami. Because when I moved to Miami, it still was, I've been going to Miami for years, but when you live there and you see on a day-to-day basis, like, you can go there and boil out, but then living there is a different thing, because you got to know how to, really conserve and really slow down and really take it day by day, versus just going and saying, you know what, hey, you know what I mean? So stay tuned for new videos. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe right now. Go ahead, hit that ring, that bell button like the rest of the guys say. Go ahead and subscribe, because I'm telling you, I got some new editors. We're about to take it to the next level, give you content that you deserve, right? Stay tuned. I'm out. James Mack.